In the tangible acupuncture for internal medicine, I think it's module 3. I go on a long lecture about the truth of treatment is we are using the greatest amount of our skill on the easiest point of access in the body to achieve the greatest effect. And so if I use my lots of effort and skill on the hardest place, my results will be hindered. And if I don't put effort and I don't have good skill and I'm not developing my chi and I'm not practicing every day, I can be at the easiest point of access, but it's going to be limp or not very effective for the result. And with the body work and the acupuncture, it's a bit like understanding what is the easiest access to what I need to do. And the first thing to know is that it's always easier to warm with body work. And it's always easier to cool with needles. And there's a whole tradition of acupuncture that doesn't really believe there's any bull, right? There's xie. And so there's not tonifying with the needle. You are dispersing pathogen so the upright chi can become tonified. And of course there's burning mountain and we can do warming, but as anyone who's taken the courses knows that what makes burning mountain so effective is the chi in our hands. And so it's really the body work and the needles making it very specific. And so we have techniques that rely on acupuncture for speed. We have techniques that rely on body work for systemic or deep chi. And then we have where the needle is making more accurate the focus of the body work. And so it looks like a needle technique, but actually it's body work with almost like a tuning fork or an antenna or something that makes it very specific. Burning Mountain is a great example of that. Cooling Sky is a very good example of that. Channel traveling is a very good example of that, where it's really body work and the needle just gives it a specific line. Where it can separate out is that needles are frequently faster. And so I can accomplish much more with needles than I can with body work, certainly at my level of skill where I am now, in terms of speed. I can use my chi or a thumb to create some fasciculations, asher work, but it's much slower, where a needle, bang, 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 bang. In 5-6 minutes, I can have gone through 7, 8, 10 places. And where needles also shine is that should I choose to leave a needle in the body, engaged, then I can be in multiple places at once that I can't be with my hands. And so if I go right up the Hua Tuo points, there's no way to do that with my body work. Now, I can certainly go up and down the spine and I can do the Hua Tuos, but to have them all at once, so the body has to adjust, 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 and then it keeps adjusting and then it keeps relaxing, keeps adjusting, keeps relaxing because the needles are in there, that response of the body having to whoop, 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 and then it tries to tense, but there's a needle there, whoop, so it can't tense back. It's like anchors and holds. And so the strategy of having needles causing the body not to be able to do certain things in other places, in other locations, is very helpful. And so if I can strategize, the needle is faster. The needle allows me to go and not damage my poor thumbs if I've got to get in deep. A needle goes in deep, but it's very, very narrow. So I can go very specifically to a location, but I can't do a lot there. With my hands, I can do a lot with the manipulation of chi, but getting deep is very hard. And so there's a difference of depth, and there's a difference of speed, and there's a difference of intensity. The truth is that if we've done any Asher work on physical injuries, we become very quickly aware that a lot of points hurt much more with the hand than they do with the needle. And so when we're palpating, they're like, oh, that's terrible. And with the needle, it goes in, it jumps. Is it strong? Yes, but it's nowhere near as painful as it was to the touch. And that's because when I'm touching like that, I have to go from surface and push all the way into the spot. And so everything is being squished or affected along the way. Whereas with the needle, I can slip through the soft flesh until I hit that change in texture with the needle. I feel the change in texture, and then I can work deeply without stimulating all the way in on the path. So there's a specificity to a needle that I simply cannot easily get with a hand. And with a hand, I can bombard a whole area with warm chi, or pull it up, or affect the flow of chi in that area that I just simply can't do with a needle. And grasping those two is why I use them together so much. And if I can judge those ideas of needle is faster, needle is more specific, needle is more less painful, more effective for big, and the chi is more effective for really affecting the shen, for changing the temperature, for affecting the flow of the chi overall, or no matter how much I do with needles, it just doesn't align the body. It doesn't make blood move as much. Because the truth is that acupuncture is going to be very effective at moving chi gently, should I choose, but it's very hard to move blood gently. It's either too much or not enough. Because Asher, boom, fasciculations, or I get the dull, achy, but there's very little control over just how dull, how achy, how full it is or it isn't. Fasciculation, bang, bang, bang. But a fasciculation is a very extreme application of blood movement. Whereas with touch, I can really control the blood, the tangibility, the yin, the gu, the bones of the body. And the needle allows me to affect the chi, the movement of blood, because the chi is moving or not moving. That a body work is harder to get to, may take more time, or is maybe just my level of skill at this point. And so grasping that needles are good at chi and of course work blood, and hands are very good at blood, but of course work chi, and then strategizing the two is how I work them in the clinic. And it is incredibly rare that a patient isn't getting both. When I have a needle, they're always getting some body work, unless it's strong Asher work moving on. And it's very rare that in a treatment they're not going to have acupuncture and body work, as if they were separate. They're not in my world. And that ability to judge temperature shift, movement, guiding, leading, blood versus chi, chi versus blood defines needles and body work. So that's the official or Zhongzong answer. The flippant answer is if I've been traveling and I'm exhausted or I've been sick, you're going to see a lot of needles and maybe some moxa, and you won't see a lot of chi work with my hands. I'm tired. So I'm going to save it for the few patients who really need it in any given day, and the rest they're getting chi acupuncture, but I'm using more needles. And I remember once, I can't remember what happened, where it was incredible teaching run, and poor planning, I was in 3 different time zones in 4 weekends. And then I had an observer in the clinic, and so I got back Monday night at midnight, so it was 1 a.m. Tuesday. I was in the clinic at 8 a.m. on Tuesday. And I did a lot of moxa. And this person has been with us for 6-7 years now. And I looked at her and I said, do you know why we're doing so much moxa today? And she was like, well, trying to come up with an answer, right? And I laughed and I said, because I'm tired. And so that's what they're getting today. And so the flippant answer is needles require less chi on my part. And of course, I should have good chi for both. But if you're in the clinic and I'm spending more time on the body work and the chi work, given that the nature of illnesses is evenly across the board, not needing those, you can know that I'm in good practice. And if you come in and see a lot of needles and a lot of moxa or a huge amount of liniments, then you can know I'm low on chi, I'm tired, or I'm sick. And so I'm using those to daiti, to not replace, but to subsidize. Yeah, there's a nice word in English, which it's not going to get me now because I've had no sleep with the flight. But that idea of that's what I'm using it for. And so the greater the skill, the less needles are used, is what Dr. Xie would say. And of course, given that, some things are just plain easier to treat with needles. And then some things you simply can't treat with needles. Body alignment, skeletal alignment, warming the whole flesh of the thigh or the back as opposed to just the chi and the channels. Just a good rolling or pushing and the whole thing warms right up. Add a liniment and that's great. And then the best thing about body work with a liniment is they're going to go home and that liniment keeps working that you push through. So it's like a reminder constantly. And so you have here's the reason of acupuncture, body work, and the two together. And then the reality in the clinic of what's going on that day. Are my hands cold? Not cold? Is the patient really dirty and therefore they're going to get needles? Or is the patient very, very afraid of needles and so they're going to get more body work? Or are they lay down and they're in jeans and a belt and I realize that trying to get them to dress correctly is just not in their brain. Therefore, I will choose certain techniques over something else. I'll look down and I'll realize I need to get somewhere, but I can't get there because there's clothing. I'm not going to do a needle, I'll do body work. I'm going to go somewhere else and I'm going to touch it and it's pathogenically cold. It's truly cold. I either have to get a hand towel to put down and work through the towel, or I'm going to get a needle and see if I can bring some chi to the area before I stick my hand on that pathogenic cold. So then my own hand starts to get a little bit cold from that. And then I treat 3 more patients right away. And, I'm kind of like, okay, let's get the chi down there because that cold seeps through. And I don't believe that we pick up illnesses, but, if you stick your hands in an ice bucket, it's going to be cold for a while. And if someone has that pathogenic cold, then, you're going to feel it unless you're really up on your chi. And that's sort of a flippant answer to the reality of acupuncture and bodywork.